beautiful jellyfish, it's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Today I'm going to be doing a video for you guys talking all about counterspells in, I was about to say in Magic, but then I was like, wait, well yeah, but counterspells in Modern. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm hitting on the most popular ones. I feel like there's a couple that I potentially may be missing, but I just kind of wanted to do like an overview of just like talking about each counterspell, because something that's really, really interesting in looking at decks is like what kind of counterspells are they running, what kind of counterspells are they running in their sideboard, things like that. And I kind of wanted to like look at it, especially because I just built Grixis Control and actually just added in a Remand and a Mana Leak, which the Mana Leak is supposed to be a Remand. But like I just wanted to like talk about like what goes on with the counterspells, like what is the reason that these are so good, basically. So speaking of Remand, I want to first talk about Remand. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, Remand is not that good, because if you notice, it says it goes back to their hand. Now, something that's really interesting about Remand that I want to say is that I actually had someone, while I was playing Snapcaster Mage, I was like, Snapcaster Mage, target Inquisition, and they were like, I'm gonna Remand your Inquisition. So I didn't get to Snapcaster cast my spell, which I thought was really, really interesting. So this is a really interesting thing to do, especially because a lot of the format is playing Snapcaster Mage. So Remand, the fact that it says counter target spell, this is really, really important to look at in spells. Aggro is taking up so much of the meta. You're going to want to be taking out a lot of times their creatures, not so much their, I mean, yeah, you want to take out their instants and their sorceries and whatever, but like the majority of the things that you want to deal with are going to be creature spells, especially because if you're playing blue, you know, a lot of times, you know, you'll play like black because black will, you know, you have kill spells or something like that, because a lot of times like someone will just play something and you just can't counter it because it's a creature and you're like, Remand bounces back to their hand. The most important part of Remand, most important part is that you get to draw a card off of it. So say like you've got like 3 mana up and you're like Remand and they're like, cool, I'm gonna recast it, and then you draw another counter spell for 1 mana, like that's super, super fantastic. So that's just really, really important with Remand. Another thing too with Remand is that it sets them back a turn. So also if you're playing Remand with black, and say like for example like they tap out for their spell and the next turn you're like Thoughtseize, you can take away that, and not only do you take away that card, you can also have access to information and you see what cards they have in their hand. So I feel like there's a bunch of advantages to Remand. Again, a disadvantage is that it goes back to their hand, they can just recast it, but the fact that you get to draw a card is just really, really important. So that's Remand. Now we're going to talk about Mana Leak. And Mana Leak is one of those cards that I like it because it's anything, so you can counter anything, you can counter a creature spell, whatever. It's really, really, really good in the early game. However, this card late game is not super fantastic because they're like 3 mana, no problem. And you're playing a control deck if you're playing counter spells. So like a lot of times your games are just grindier because like you're playing the control deck and you're not trying to kill them on turn 4. So like they top deck like Liliana of the Veil, and you're just like Mana Leak it and they're like recast it and I don't really care about it. So that's like the awkward thing about Mana Leak. I don't like this card as like a 4 of or anything like that, but I think it's like a 2 of. I think it's really, really good. I like it a lot, and again I like the fact that you can counter anything with it. Right, cool. Right, and now we're gonna talk about Cryptic Command. And before I had like these like mixed feelings on Cryptic Command, and I feel like my feelings of Cryptic Command have become more concrete because I was watching some Magic yesterday. I was being a good Magic player and I was watching Magic. I was watching Luis Scott Vargas piloting Grixis Control, and he was using Cryptic Command in his deck. He's using 3, I believe, and I just saw like the power of Cryptic Command. Now, I don't want to talk about all of the other modes in Cryptic Command about why it's so good. I just want to talk about the fact that it's counter target spell. So again, it's counter target spell, it counters anything that you want to. Super, super important. And it has all those other modes, which again I'm not really going to be talking about because this is just all about counter spells, but I can do like a card focus on Cryptic Command, which I think I'm going to do because there's just a lot to say about this card because they have 4 modes. So yes, I like Cryptic Command a lot. And like Snapcaster Mage Cryptic Command is like probably really just fantastic. I feel like I want to do that. Right, cool. Now we're going to talk about Spell Pierce. I really like Spell Pierce in a match where you're both like that grindy deck, because it's like I'm trying to like grind you out like because I'm playing Grixis Control and you're playing like twin, and like, yeah, you kind of want to kill me on turn 4, but if you don't kill me on turn 4, it's not really a huge deal. And your twin combo's like probably just gonna, yeah, your twin combo's just gonna come out in game 2 and game 3. But Spell Pierce is really good because it's a really nice like 1 mana thing when they tap out for whatever it is that they want to play. However, again, pay attention to the fact that this is a non-creature spell. So this card is not going to be good against every deck because some decks are just like super creature heavy, but it is really good if you're playing against like what's like a good example? Like say like a deck like Jund Abzan or something, and then you're like, they're like Lingering Souls and you're like Spell Pierce it. So that's really, really good. And then next turn they're like Flashback Lingering Souls and you're like Snapcaster Spell Pierce. So that's just really cool. Right, cool. Then we get into this card that I have such mixed feelings on because I really want to like this card, but I like, part of me is just like, and that is Spell Snare. And people have been talking about, like, they're like, oh, what's better, Spell Pierce and Spell Snare? And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're two completely different cards. I was like, just don't try comparing them because they're doing different things. Here's the deal with Spell Snare. Spell Snare is going to hit a lot of stuff in the format. Like, for 1 mana to get rid of, like, a Summer Bloom if you're playing against Primeval Titan, or, like, what's, like, a Snapcaster Mage. Like, it hits so much stuff. But, oops, it just accidentally hit on my thing and it went back. Okay, so what happens when they're like, you have 1 card in your hand that's a Spell Snare, and they're like, oh my gosh, they've got a counterspell, like, I'm still gonna go in and play my thing, and then they're like, Ugin, or like whatever, and you're just like, I mean, hey, I can't Spell Snare that, so that's really awkward. It's a very specific spell. However, in Modern, you're going to hit a lot of stuff. You're going to hit a lot of stuff that you want to hit, basically, so yeah, I mean, I like Spell Snare. I don't, like, again, this is not like a 4 of card, it's just not, but like, it does hit a lot of stuff. Definitely something that could potentially come out in some sideboard games. Like, I remember when I was playing Elves, I had 2 things in my entire deck that costed 2 mana. Elvish Visionary and Dwynen's Elite. Go ahead, counter those things, that's totally fine, and I've got like 12 other elves to deal with, so, you know, it's not gonna hit everything, but it does hit a good percentage of things. Cool. Now we're going to talk about Swan Song. I like Swan Song. I think it's really cool. I think it's really good in like a deck where you're like, I'm gonna counter your thing and then give you a dude. And then like, you're playing the control deck, so like, you know, say you have this card in sideboard and then you side in like board wipes or something like Anger of the Gods or like Damnation or something like that. So you just like counter their thing. They make a dude and they're all like, alright, I got a 2/2 flying bird. And then you're like, blow up the board. So Swan Song is just really sweet. I like it. It's a 2/2. You can lightning bolt it. You can, you know, you can kill it with so many different things. So, you don't really care too much about that, like, that 2/2 that they get. And the fact that it's enchantment, which, I mean, like, you're not really gonna be seeing too many enchantments in the format. Like, I'm honestly trying to think of, like, any enchantment. I mean, like, Boggles. Against Boggles, this card's, like, really good. And, like, or instant or sorcery, like, it hits just a bunch of different things. Again, the drawback is that you get a 2/2, but a lot of times you just don't even really care, because you can just blow it up with a lightning bolt or blow it up with a board wipe. Now we're gonna talk about one of my all-time, I think, favorite counterspells, because I have it in my sideboard. I have it as a 1-of in my sideboard for Grixis Control, and this card is fantastic, and that is Dispel. This card is really, really good, because, like, you're playing, like, again, you're playing in the grindier matchup or whatever, and you're just, like, they're all like, I'm gonna try to, like, outdo you with counterspells or whatever, and they're, like, Cryptic Command, and you're, like, Dispel? Like, it's just so fantastic. This is unrelated, but, like, some of my friends, like, there's, like, this inside joke with, like, a couple of my friends, and, like, I don't know, it's this whole thing of, like, someone was, like, talking about, like, one of my friends who works there, and, like, her boyfriend, and, like, they were like, oh, like, you get a discount, and they're like, which count? Discount, and then it's like, which spell? Dispel. That was super dumb, I don't know why I told you that, but, like, alright, unrelated. So, Dispel's really good, because, like, they're, like, Cryptic Command, you're like, Dispel for, like, 1 mana, so they, like, tapped out to play, like, their 4 mana thing, and you're all like, Dispel, I'm gonna counter that. Certainly not good against every single deck, but the majority of the cards in the format are running counterspells, and the fact that you can Dispel, Snapcaster Mage, counter, you know, Snapcaster Mage Dispel is just super fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Snapcaster Mage. Like, ever since I started casting the card, I'm like, this card is just, I understand what everyone's talking about and why it's, like, the best card ever. It's just super fantastic. Okay, cool. And now we're gonna be gentle with my laptop. We're gonna talk about one last card, and that is Countersquall. This card is really cool. I actually really wanted to have this card in my sideboard because I was like, I want to run this card. I think it's super cool. I like this card a lot because it's all like 2 mana. Again, it counters target non-creature spell, again, very, very important, but they lose 2 life, which is really fantastic. So something that you'll find if you play a control deck is that, like, in an aggro deck, you're all like, I'm gonna jam and I'm gonna try to kill you on, like, turn 4 or 5. But then control's like, I'm gonna boop you with the Snapcaster Mage, so you're like taking away points of damage very slowly. But then Countersquall kind of just like speeds up that process because it does 2 things that you want it to. 1, it counters something, and 2, its control loses 2 life. So I think this card is really cool. I kind of like, I understand why it's not being used when things like Swan Song and Dispel exist, but like I think this card is super sweet and I really like it, and I think that if I had room, I think I would really want to run it in my Counterspell, in my Grixis build, but I think that I need my Counterspells to do just a little bit more because I'm not running full-fledged Counterspells. Like if I wasn't doing Hand Disruption, I think I'd be all over this card. I'd be like, yes, this card is like a 1 or a 2 of, but like I think just because I'm doing Hand Disruption routes, I need my my Counterspells to be Remands because they hit everything and I need, and they draw me cards. So I think that's just really cool. So again, Counterspell should get more attention. I think it's a very underrated card. Okay, cool guys, that's it. That was it for my video talking all about Counterspells and Magic. I feel like I missed a couple and I feel I feel like I hit the majority of them, but I think that there's a couple that I didn't talk about, but these were like the most popular ones that I could think of. But yeah, that's it for this video. I'll talk to you guys later and enjoy the rest of your day/night. Bye!